Picture this. A young RAF pilot, engines sputtering, spiraling toward the ink-black waters of the North Sea. The cockpit fills with smoke. He bails out, parachute deploying against the winter sky. Below, the water waits, 4 degrees Celsius, cold enough to kill in minutes. His survival now depends on a single revolutionary piece of fabric wrapped around his body. This is the story of Ventile, the miracle cotton that turned the tide of survival in World War II, a textile innovation so ingenious that it saved thousands of lives without a single chemical coating, relying instead on the ancient wisdom of nature itself, reimagined for modern warfare. By 1941, the mortality rate among downed RAF pilots was catastrophic. Men who survived the violence of aerial combat were drowning or dying from hypothermia within minutes of hitting the water. Their standard-issue wool uniforms became death traps, soaking up the freezing sea like sponges, dragging them under with the weight of absorbed water. The Air Ministry faced a grim reality. They were losing experienced pilots not to enemy fire, but to the limitations of their clothing. Scientists at the Shirley Institute in Manchester received an urgent mandate: create a fabric that could keep a man alive long enough for rescue, something that seemed impossible with the materials available at the time. What the British textile researchers discovered was revolutionary in its simplicity. They turned to Egyptian cotton, selecting only the longest staple fibers available, and wove them with such extraordinary density that the resulting fabric contained over 200 threads per inch. The weave was so tight that you could barely see light through it, yet it remained surprisingly supple and breathable. The real magic happened when water met fabric. Cotton fibers naturally absorb moisture and swell, expanding by roughly 33%. In Ventile's incredibly dense weave, this swelling created a mechanical seal so effective that water simply could not penetrate. There were no rubberized coatings to crack in sub-zero temperatures, no synthetic membranes to fail under stress, just pure, intelligently engineered cotton performing a feat that honestly seemed to defy logic. The proof came in the freezing waters where so many had perished before. Survival tests showed that pilots wearing Ventile immersion suits could survive up to 20 times longer than those in standard wool uniforms. 20 times. That translated to men staying alive for hours instead of minutes, conscious and coherent enough to be rescued by air-sea rescue launches that were now actually reaching them in time. Paratroopers dropping into occupied Europe wore Ventile smocks that kept them dry through channel crossings and night drops into marshland. Arctic convoy sailors facing the brutal North Atlantic found that Ventile gear remained windproof and waterproof even as ice formed on the outer surface, while the breathability prevented the dangerous accumulation of sweat that could chill them from within. Beyond its wartime service, Ventile became the fabric of choice for those who pushed into the world's most unforgiving environments. Sir Edmund Hillary wore it on Everest in 1953, trusting his life to the same material that had saved pilots a decade earlier. Modern survivalists and bushcraft practitioners who rediscover Ventile find themselves connected to that lineage of adaptation and resilience. The fabric teaches us something profound about preparedness. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the newest synthetic or the most complex technology, but rather the intelligent application of natural principles refined through necessity and proven in the field. The story of Ventile reminds us that survival often depends on the ingenuity we bring to simple materials and the wisdom to learn from those who face the ultimate tests before us. If this deep dive into wartime innovation and survival technology resonates with you, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this video with anyone who values the intersection of history, self-reliance, and the timeless art of staying alive when it matters most.